Praise y'all, brothers and sisters. We're going to read a little bit more on wisdom based on chapter 12 of Mashal, a proverb written by Solomon of Shomolo. And it begins with, first of all, let me say this. Baruch are all those who revere Yahuah and walk in his ways. People want to know how to be favored and how to have things work out for them. And all it takes is to sincerely revere Yahuah, to please him, to do his will. And that's how people get favor. Baruch are all those who revere Yahuah. That's wisdom right there, right? To revere Yahuah and walk in his ways. Tahalim 128, verse 1. So Mashal 12. Whoever loves discipline or correction loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof, the Hallelujah scriptures say stupid, which I have not liked that word since I was a little girl, and even taught my sons. You don't call each other names. You have your disagreements and your arguments, but you will not call each other names, and two of the main ones will be ugly and stupid. So I was really surprised to see that in the scriptures. But then I cross-referenced it in other translations and even the dictionary. And so I'm going to reread it, and I'm going to use the words that other choices, which are still, some of them are still like, So whoever loves discipline or correction loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is cruel, gross, carnal, and sensual. In other words, wicked, evil, the opposite of good. Verse 2, a righteous man shall obtain favor from Yahuah, but he will condemn a man of wicked plans, meaning Yahuah will condemn a man of wicked plans. In order to find favor, to obtain favor, we have to be set apart, be willing to live by his statutes. Verse 3, a man shall not be established by wickedness, yet the root of the righteous shall not be moved. So a wicked man is not going to be established. It may look like he's established, and he is established in the world, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. We're established. We're rooted and grounded in truth and in righteousness and eternity with the Most High. A worthy woman, or we could say an honorable woman, an upright woman, an exemplary woman, is the crown of her husband. But a disgraceful wife is as rottenness in his bones. And it is so sad, the things that we're seeing today. The enemy has successfully destroyed many, many marriages. People have an identity crisis and don't know who they are or what they should be. And it's so sad, at the expense of the children, the next generation, who will carry on the trauma of the discord that was in their family. A woman is a very powerful part of a family. She's very powerful. And we'll read this in some other verses. So let me reread it. Verse 4, a worthy woman is a woman who is honorable and upright and exemplary. She is the crown. She is a crown to her husband. But a disgraceful wife is as rottenness in his bones. Mashal 31, verse 10, who can find a virtuous woman? That woman of virtue, that woman of uprightness and exemplary ways of doing things. She's honorable. Who can find her? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. He knows that he's not going to be losing in any area of life. There's no spoil. She's taking care of things. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. He who finds a true wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from Yahuah. That's another verse, verse 22. Mashal 14:1. Every wise woman builds her house, but the foolish one tears it down with her own hands. Mashal 21 verse 9. It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop, on a flat roof exposed of all kinds of weather, than in a house shared with a nagging, quarrelsome, and fault-finding woman. Oh my goodness. Mashal 27 verse 15. A continual dripping on a day of violent showers and a contentious woman are alike. Whoever attempts to restrain a contentious woman might as well try to stop the wind. His right hand encounters oil, and she slips through his fingers. Come on, ladies, sisters. Hopefully no one listening to this is still in that place, even if you were at one time was ill-informed and didn't have good role models. But now with the Ruah HaKodesh talking to you and leading you, you're no longer there. But what an awful thing to think that what men go through when we are not that honorable woman. That one that is virtuous and upright and exemplary. But if we're nagging and quarrelsome and fault-finding, if we're tearing down our house instead of building it up, the husband and the children are living in very bad situations. And when we learn how to seek Yah for wisdom, we can see how we can build up that house. Well, the home, make it a home, because a house is not a home just because people live in it. It says, whoever attempts to restrain a contentious woman might as well try to stop the wind. You know, society has people think women, once again, I told you in another Mashal reading, the word right, we need to look at that. That means the authority, the power. Really? The only authority and power we have should be through Yahuah, and it's going to be righteous. Verse 5, the thoughts of the righteous are just. In Mashal 11, we said that the desires of the righteous are always good. Now the thoughts of the righteous are just, but the advice of the wicked is deceitful. There is just something about a righteous person, a person who is consistently righteous because they are consistently seeking Yah's wisdom and his will. There's something about that. The words of the wicked are about lying and wait for blood. So all the words that wicked people speak is all about lying and wait for blood. They're waiting for the shoe to drop. They're waiting for that person to make a mistake. But the speech of the upright and truthful rescues them. So our speech, because it's upright and truthful, it rescues us from harm. You know, I was just thinking about this when it says the words of the wicked are about lying in wait for blood. I heard a story about the ATM, this woman, which it didn't make sense to me anyways, when they came up with this some time ago about tapping, instead of, you have a choice now, instead of inserting the card for the chip or swiping it with the strip on the back of the card, you can tap it. Well, supposedly after you tap, especially at an ATM, you need to make sure that the whole process is completed, that it hasn't left the account open. So she was at an ATM and she tapped it, and no, she tried to insert it, and it wouldn't go in. And so there was someone behind her trying to help her with it, and he said, "Why don't you just tap it?" So she did, and it worked. So she tapped. She did what she wanted to do, and because she had never tapped before, she didn't realize that there was more steps to it to closing out her account. She thought once she got her money, she was done. She walked out. That person behind her took, I think, 2 different withdrawals, but I know he took some money out. And so it's thought that maybe he set her up, because what happened was, where you would insert the card, glue was put in there so the card wouldn't go in. And so he was at the right place at the right time to help this woman. He was so helpful, but because she didn't close out the account and he knew that, he went in there and he got several $1,000s. So they lie in wait for blood. The wicked are overthrown and are no more, but the house of the righteous shall stand. You know, since I've been doing this, I was thinking, I said, you know, it'd be really good to get like a pro and con worksheet and show the pros of being righteous and the cons of being wicked, and just show how it weighs out. So the wicked are overthrown and are no more, but the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be praised according to his wisdom, but he who has a warped mind shall be despised. Better is he who is little known and has a servant than he who honors himself and lacks bread. Some people are boasting on themselves, what they have. They dress the part and everything, and then they have nothing. And you're like, okay, all right. And then you have this person who he just goes about his business, and it's like, but he has enough money to have a servant. Watch out for those who honor themselves. Verse 10, a righteous man respects the life of his animal, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. Okay, so you might want to do a research on this, because I'm thinking about going back and doing more. So I looked up tender mercies, because I didn't want to say the word mercies, right? And when I did, the dictionary said the synonym to that phrase, tender mercies, is kick in the teeth, no pity, small portion, unsympathetic treatment. So I'm going to reread it. A righteous man respects the life of his animal, but the kick of the teeth of the wicked are cruel, or no pity of the wicked are cruel. Small portion of the wicked are cruel. Unsympathetic treatment of the wicked are cruel. And then I looked at it someplace else, and it was saying something else along that line. That's what made me think I need to look into this. Verse 11, he who tills his land. Well, let me go back to that. So a righteous man respects the life of his animal, but even the slightest little bit of looking like someone is kind, if they're wicked, it is cruel. And it just brings me back to the thought of the way the slaves that were brought over, they say was brought over here in the ships, and they worked as slaves for over 400 years. Even after a certain document was signed and went into realization for this nation that all men were created equal, they were still treated like animals. And that's what this was reminding me of. A kick in the teeth and no pity. Anyways, let me get back to the verses. He who tills his land shall have plenty of bread, but he who chases fantasies is void of wisdom. He who tills his land shall have plenty of bread, but he who chases fantasies is void of wisdom. Don't work, you don't eat. Verse 12, the wicked desires, covets those things taken unlawfully of evil men, but the root of the righteous flourishes. Some people, they desire and they cover those things that they know are taken by evil men, but they want things the easy way, and they somehow or another admire those people, and they want a part of that. An evil, wicked scoundrel of a man is trapped, snared by wickedness of lips, but the righteous shall come out of trouble. An evil, wicked scoundrel of a man is trapped and snared by wickedness. There's one verse in Tehillim, and it says that it says wickedness will destroy the wicked, or something like that. Because evil don't like nobody. They'll use man for instruments to bring evil to someone else or to destroy someone's being, but evil is friend to no one. Verse 14, a man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth. Mashal 6 verse 2 says, you are snared with the words of your mouth. You are taken with the words of your mouth. Verse 21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So a man shall be satisfied with the good of the fruit of his mouth, if he's speaking good. The work of a man's hands shall be rewarded to him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he who is wise listens to counsel. Remember some of the other Mashals verses? It talked about those that are righteous. They want instruction. They want correction. They listen to wise words. But there are some who don't want to hear it. Don't want to listen to wise counsel. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that is wise listens to counsel. And what's right in our eyes, it brings destruction and death, because we're not leaning on wisdom. A fool shows his annoyance and his wrath right away, but one who overlooks an insult is wise, is prudent. Or we can read it, a fool's wrath is quickly and openly known, but a prudent wise man ignores an insult. He who is truthful testifies honestly, but a false witness lies. There is one who speaks rashly like the piercing of a sword, but the tongue of the wise heals. Truth's lips shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is only momentary. Deceit is in the heart of those who plot evil. Deceit is in the heart of those who plot evil. But joy comes to the promoters of peace. No mischief shall happen to the righteous, but the wicked shall be filled with evil. So I'm going to read it again from another translation. No actual evil, misfortune, or calamity shall come upon the righteous, but the wicked shall be filled with evil, misfortune, and calamity. Verse 22, lying lips are an abomination to Yahuah, but those who do the truth are his delight. A prudent man is reluctant to display his knowledge, but the heart of self-confident fools proclaims their folly. See, a wise man doesn't have to flaunt around what he knows. Something to think about when we're in a group of people and we're hearing people talking. Oh, goodness. The hand of the diligent will rule, but the slothful will be put to forced labor. So those who are working diligently, they will eventually be the ones get promotions if there's a just weight going on, if the people are doing right. And the slothful will be forced into forced labor. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs it down, but a kind, encouraging word makes it glad. See, and we're that one, right? We have wisdom and we have life. That in verse 17 it says, but the tongue of the wise heals. So we can bring encouraging words. A righteous person is cautious in friendship. Or we can read it from another translation. The consistently righteous man is a guide to his neighbor, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Verse 27, the slothful man doesn't catch or roast his game once he kills it, but the possessions of diligent men are prized. You know what? There really are some people who do that. My son has gotten so upset with people who he knows that go out during deer hunting season and they just shoot to shoot. They don't catch it and they don't roast it. So the slothful man doesn't catch or roast his game once he kills it. He just does it for game, for fun. But the possessions of diligent men are prized. Verse 28, in the way of righteousness is life. In his path there is no death. In the way of righteousness is life. In his path there is no death. May we live by the wisdom of Yahuah. She says in Mashal 8 that she'll be found of those that seek her. And wisdom also said that she loves those who love her. And one might have been in Mashal 11 said that wisdom is a tree of life. That concludes the reading of Mashal 12. Stay encouraged, brothers and sisters, in this evil time. Look to him, lean on him, seek his wisdom. It's a practice that we got to get good at. We got to practice it. Most of us are so used to just leaning on what we know or what someone's telling us. And that's another thing we have to remember. We don't have to feel pushed to give an answer right away to anything. If they're pushing us, then we can know something's up. We have time. We always have time to seek Yah's wisdom, his guidance, his discretion, his counsel. We need his wisdom. There's one verse that says that the children of this world are wiser than us. And it ought not to be so when you think about it. When we serve the all-wise one, the all-knowing one, stay encouraged, brothers and sisters. Remember that we win in Yahuah. And that is the only way we're going to win. When we stay with him, side with him. No matter what comes and goes, we're standing with Yahuah. Because in the path of righteousness, there is no death. Mashal, chapter 12. We win in Yah. All praises be to him, the Most High Yah. Oh yes. He gives joy and He gives peace.